Pulley, Roten, I saw him come in. Sledge, Suara, Syracuse, Toombs, Van Rees, Bircher. Here, great. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is a quorum. So we'll begin with the consent agenda. Actually, we will begin, thank you for waving, with a short report from Metro Water Services to give us an update on what's going on with our trash pickup. Mr. Honeysucker, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, Council. John Honeysucker, Assistant Director of Waste Services. One thing that we truly are committed to with, under Director Potter and his leadership is making sure that we're very transparent with the Council, especially with the support of the Council and administration to help us get through these trying times. As for fleet, I will, on a positive note, I will say that our General Services team of Velvet and Stacy, they have done a fantastic job, and I think they were here for a moment there in the back here. Here's Director Potter. They've done a fantastic job of making sure that our fleet has been maintaining at a operable level, and we're very pleased with that. They have done a fantastic job, so I do want to acknowledge them for doing that. So I do want to talk to you all about the Red River Platform Waste Solutions situation. They did close last week, so it is now officially Platform Waste Solutions. We were committed to making sure that we are proactive in anything that takes place in regards to the trash, making sure that it is fundamentally that it is picked up on time and in a timely fashion. We're committed to making sure we do that and being proactive on the front end. If there are situations that are coming about right now that are showing us signs that we have some challenges, we're not going to wait for it to fall out on us. To be very direct, there were some situations that has taken place in Council Lady Porterfield's district over the weekend. Councilman Parker, who was probably not aware of that at the time, but it took place in his district, and also Council Lady Johnson. There were some issues that took place in her district. Communication is vital to make this process work and partnership work. Due to the fact that these situations did take place, I did make a decision to move forward with taking 4 of the routes from Platform Waste Solutions effective today. The reason that is done, once again, we're going to make sure that trash is picked up. We've had great support of the administration and the council. And the fact that you all entrusted me to lead this division, along with Mr. Potter, we're going to make sure we do it the right way. We're not going to prolong this situation. With that being said, if Director Potter has any comments or if the council has any questions.
I would ask one, can you tell us if that will have any financial implications? Does reassigning those to one of our other carriers change what we're paying for waste collection?
Actually, I'll let our finance director, who is here, Ms. Amanda.
Ms. Moyer, thank you. Deaton Moyer.
Yes, ma'am. So if we reassign those routes to our own, it does not have, we will save from not paying platform capital, but if we turn it over to either Waste Pro or Waste Management, those rates are at $11.50 as opposed to the negotiated $7.50. So it is a little more costly, but it does balance itself out as John and Sharon continue to do a good job of managing both cost and service.
Thank you. Other questions from committee members? We appreciate y'all staying on top of this. We know how aggravating it is to get calls from our constituents, so thank you for enabling us to say that we have jumped on it quickly. I'm sure we'll see you back in 2 weeks with an update, so thank y'all for continuing to stay on top of this. Any other questions about waste? With that, I will run through the consent agenda. If there are any of these items that need to be pulled off of consent, please let me know. I heard that it did. 21. Okay, yes. So currently on consent are RS 22-1691, 1692, 1693. On consent, RS 2022-1700, 1701, 1702, 1703, 1704, 1705, 1706, 1707, 1708, 1709, 1710, 1711, 1712, 1713. Also on consent are RS 2022-1715, 1716, 1717, 1718, 1719, 1720, and 1722. Councilmember Van Rees? Oh, hold on. You're recognized.
1692 will need to be pulled off consent, as I have a potential conflict of interest and need to abstain.
1692 is off consent. Let me make sure I catch that. Okay, and 1721 has also come off consent. Ready to withdraw. Okay, any other items need to come off of consent? I will read through the captions, and if you change your mind and want to take something off, we can do it at that point as well. So on consent currently, RS 2022-1691, sponsors Parker, Allen, Welsh, and Swar, approves amendments to 2 grant contracts for constructing affordable housing between the Metro Housing Trust Commission and certain nonprofit organizations. Also on consent is RS 2022-1693, sponsors Allen, approves the terms of a cooperative purchasing master agreement for Polaris off-road vehicles, utility task vehicles, and all-terrain vehicles. On consent, RS 2022-1694, sponsor Allen, authorizes the issuance and sale of water and sewer revenue bonds. That's not on consent, that's a biggie, sorry. Further on consent are RS 2022-1700, sponsors Allen, Welsh, Swar, and Stiles. This approves a grant from the Greater Nashville Regional Council to the Metro Social Services Commission to provide delivered meals to eligible seniors in their homes and in congregate meal sites throughout the Davidson County. On consent, RS 2022-1701, sponsors Allen and Welsh, approves a second amendment to an agreement between the Metro government and WellSky Corporation to provide homeless management information system. Also on consent, RS 2022-1702, sponsors Allen, Bradford, Welsh, and Stiles, approves a grant from the Tennessee Arts Commission to the Metro Arts Commission for general operating support to expand, improve, and develop the arts in Tennessee. Also on consent is RS 2022-1703, sponsors Allen, authorizes Metro Department of Law to settle the personal injury claims of Dorothea Chapman against the Metro government in the amount of $25,000. Also in consent is RS 2022-1704, sponsors Allen, Evans, and Sawara, approves Amendment 1 to a Project Safe Neighborhood Grant from the Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration to the Metro Nashville Police Department to reduce gun violence in Nashville. Also in consent is RS 2022-1705, sponsors Allen, authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Retha White against the Metro government in the amount of $6,000. Also in consent is RS 2022-1706, sponsors Allen, authorizes the Metro Department of Law to settle the personal injury claim of Marlene Woods against the Metro government in the amount of $5,815. Also on consent is RS 2022-1707, sponsors Allen, Evans, Welsh, and Sawara. This approves a grant to the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to use available data to identify populations at high risk for adverse consequences from substance abuse and employ evidence-based interventions that are responsive to population needs. Also in consent is RS 2022-1708, sponsors Allen, Evans, Welsh, and Sawara. This approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to promote the proper use of all recommended vaccines and respond to vaccine-preventable diseases in collaboration with the CDC and other partners. Also on consent is RS 2022-1709, sponsors Allen, Evans, Welsh, and Sawara, approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to provide an array of programs and direct patient care services to meet the public health care needs of Tennessee's citizens. Also on consent is RS 2022-1710, sponsors Allen, Evans, Welsh, and Sawara, approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to ensure federal preparedness funds are directed to the Tennessee Regional and Metropolitan Emergency Preparedness Programs to prepare for, respond to, and recover from public health threats. Also on consent is RS 2022-1711, sponsors Allen, Evans, Welsh, and Sawara. This approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to provide oral disease prevention services for school children in grades K through 8 in qualifying public schools. Also on consent is RS 2022-1712, sponsors Allen, Evans, and Welsh. This approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to provide viral hepatitis program services aimed at prevention, testing, diagnosis, surveillance, and linkage to treatment and other support services. Also on consent is RS 2022-1733, sponsors Allen, Evans, Welsh, and Bradford. This approves Amendment 1 to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to provide HIV/AIDS core medical services and early intervention services. Also on consent is RS 2022-1714, sponsors Allen, Evans, Welsh, and Swara. This approves Amendment 1 to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Human Services to the Metro Board of Health to conduct immunization record audits for child care centers, drop-in centers, and group child care homes to ensure the safety and well-being of children and families in Tennessee. Also on consent is RS 2022-1715, sponsors Allen, Evans, Bradford, and others. This approves a grant to the Friends of Metro Animal Care and Control to the Metro Board of Health to provide funding for emergency medical care for shelter animals, the Safety Net program, and to foster behavioral support training. Also on consent is RS 2022-1716, sponsors Allen, Bradford, Welsh, and Swara. This approves a grant from the Nashville Public Library Foundation to the Metro Nashville Public Library to fund a program manager position to supervise NASA capacity building and grant management that focuses on integration of Nashville's vision for holistic youth development. Also on consent is RS 2022-1717, sponsors Allen, Bradford, Welsh, and others. This approves a Wishing Trail Productions grant from the Nashville Public Library Foundation to the Metro Nashville Public Library to fund puppeteers to help with education outreach to daycare centers, elementary school, and Head Start facilities. Also on consent is RS 2022-1718, sponsors Allen, Bradford, Welsh, and Swara. This approves a grant from the Nashville Public Library Foundation to the Metro Nashville Public Library to fund education and literacy programs that emphasize the importance of developing literacy skills by educating teachers, children, and parents. Also on consent is RS 2022-1719, sponsors Allen, Bradford, Welsh, and Swara. This approves a grant from the Nashville Public Library Foundation to the Metro Nashville Public Library to fund public coordinator positions for the Votes for Women and Archives Digitization Program divisions to facilitate ongoing programming and continued digitization of audiovisual materials. Also in consent is RS 2022-1720, sponsors Allen, Bradford, and Welsh. This approves a system-wide programming grant from the Nashville Public Library Foundation to the Metro Nashville Public Library to fund a program coordinator and to facilitate performers, program supplies, and foundation enhancement. Also on consent is RS 2022-1722, sponsors Syracuse, Withers, Allen, and others, approves Amendment 2 to a Transportation Alternatives Program grant from the Tennessee Department of Transportation to the Metro Nashville Parks and Recreation Department to provide funding for the construction of a multimodal path and elevated boardwalk from the Cumberland River pedestrian bridge to the Opry Mills complex. Also on, I believe that is it for the consent agenda. Does that match your list? So, do we have anything that needs to be moved to the consent agenda? All right, we also have Councilmember Roten and Hurt with us now, which brings us up to 11. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? And second, been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? We recommend the consent agenda, 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Now we will move to items that are not on the consent agenda. Okay, there we go. So that begins with item RS 2022-1692, sponsors Parker, Allen, Welsh, and Swara. This approves the Third Amendment to a grant contract for constructing affordable housing between the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Affordable Housing Resources. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. I believe, Councilmember Van Rees, do you need to abstain on this one? Okay. Any other discussion or questions on this one? We had Ashley Brown give us the explanation. This is just extending the length of time to allow for additional time for clearing titles. So if there are no other questions, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any not voting? We recommend approval, 10 in favor, 0 against, and 1 not voting. That would be Councilmember Van Rees. Next is RS 2022-1694. Sponsor is Allen. This authorizes the issuance and sale of water and sewer revenue bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $315 million. And I could ask either someone from the administration or from Metro Water just to give us an explanation on this. It's been moved and seconded. Thank you. And we have several folks from Metro Water coming up. I'll start with from Finance. Our Treasurer, Michelle Bosch.
Hi there, my name is Michelle Bosch. Thank you. We're looking for approval to,
Please lean into it.
Thank you. We're looking for approval to enter into a loan with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and the loan is for $315 million. We're expecting the loan to be priced at very favorable rates compared to our AA-rated revenue bonds.
Yes, so actually, I guess we'll take 1693 and 1694 together. So this is the WIFIA. 1694 and 1695.
One is the
Right.
initial resolution, the other is the
So in reference to the loan, that is actually 1695. So please continue with that explanation. Thank you.
So the initial resolution was to get approval to increase our issuance on the bonds, and then the second resolution is to issue the actual loan.
Thank you. And if you can just explain a little bit about why this is such a good rate and why it makes sense to do it this way as opposed to just a regular bond resolution.
Sure. So currently, we have a AA-rated revenue bond for the water department, which is a very high-quality credit. A bond of such size and structure would potentially cost a 3.8% for the life of the bonds. In a similar loan with the WIFIA with the U.S. It's a federal loan, so the rates are much more favorable. We would be paying similar to U.S. Treasury rates, which would be about 3.25%. And if you do a present value calculation on that, it comes out to about $96 million.
Great. Okay. Other questions or comments on either of these two resolutions? Anyone from administration want to add anything? Councilmember Mendez, you're recognized.
Thanks. I'd like to ask Ms. Bosch and then also Metro Water to confirm that this borrowing is consistent with the comprehensive rate plan that we approved a couple of years ago.
Ms. Deaton-Moyer?
Amanda Deaton-Moyer, Metro Water. Yes, sir, this is aligned with our comprehensive rate strategy. We do meet our rate covenants, and we have had to go through extensive work with the EPA to show our pro forma such that we are proving that we will be able to do that. And this is part of our capital plan, and the project that these two combined resolutions will support was in that plan to start.
And by rate, we mean the rate we're charging water customers, not interest rate on the bonds, correct?
Right. I mean,
for our listening audience, they might
toward the end of 2019, we had to, as a city, change water rates under threat of, if we didn't do it at the very next meeting, the state was going to do it for us. And part of that had a long-term plan that allowed for complying with the EPA consent decree, as well as planned expansion and modernization of the water system, and that had, I think, a couple decades of financial projections in it. And I just wanted to make sure that the bond debt, the $315 million worth of debt, is contemplated by and consistent with the user rate plan that we approved a couple of years ago in 2019.
Thank you. That's an important question.
And yes, sir, it is. So the difference and why you didn't hear WIFIA at that very moment was we did contemplate debt model. This included a debt model that included these expenses, but the WIFIA that we bring for you today is just a better debt vehicle by interest rate. But we did contemplate this debt, and we will continue to meet our covenants and our ratios by the rates. And of course, you will recall that as part of that, we do have to do a cost of service study in about a year and a half for those of us thinking about it all the time, and we'll continue to monitor our rates to make sure they are supportive of our capital plan.
Thanks very much. If I could just have Ms. Bosch confirm that's the only question I have.
Ms. Bosch?
Yes, that's confirmed.
Any other questions? Thank you. Are we ready to vote? We are voting on RS 2022-1694, which is the bond issue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We recommend approval. 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Now we're voting on RS 2022. Did I skip something?
Well, no, we have to wait.
Ah,
So at least
okay.
suspend the rules.
So does this body need to recommend a deferral, or can we just say we approve it? Okay, does this body want to see this again if it's going to be automatically deferred in council, or are we satisfied? Mr. Mendez, I sense an opinion over there.
I mean, it's $315 million. We might as well.
Let's vote on it twice. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll rescind that approval if no one objects, and
I'll make a motion to defer one meeting according to council rule with a re-referral to this committee.
okay, and re-refer. Good motion. That's been seconded. Any discussion on the motion to defer and re-refer? All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? We recommend one meeting deferral, re-refer, and re-referral. And likewise on RS 2022-1695, that one also needs. I read the caption when no, I did not read the caption because it's very long, and I know I didn't do that. So I'll read RS 2022-1695. Sponsors Allen, supplements and amends substitute Resolution RS 2010-1442 to authorize a loan agreement between the Metro government and the United States Environmental Protection Agency in a principal amount not to exceed $315 million for the financing of certain water and system projects, authorize the sale and payment of water and sewer revenue bonds in connection with said loan agreement, and repealing those provisions of Resolution RS 2011-114 for the issuance of subordinate lien water and sewer revenue bonds. Any further questions on this specific resolution? Seeing none. All right, do we have a motion to defer one meeting and re-refer? It's seconded. Any discussion on the motion to defer and re-refer? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? We recommend a one meeting deferral. Re-refer. Thank you. Next is RS 2022-1696. Shall we take all four of these together since the Affordable Housing Committee voted to defer them to October?
You can.
Any objection to taking these next four together? All right, I will read the captions for all four, and then we'll discuss what happened in Affordable Housing Committee. RS 2022-1696, sponsors Sepulveda, Gamble, Parker, and others, appropriates $25 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund Number 30216 to the Metro Development and Housing Agency Authority to provide low-cost loans to developers for the addition of deeply affordable housing units, with loan proceeds to be used to address affordable housing and homeless services. RS 2022-1697, sponsors Sepulveda, Gamble, Parker, and others, appropriates $9 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund 30216 to the Metro Homeless Impact Division of Metro Social Services to build capacity in Housing First case management services, including establishing assertive community treatment teams. RS 2022-1698, sponsors Sepulveda, Gamble, Parker, and others, appropriates $9 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund 30216 to the Metro Homeless Impact Division of Metro Social Services for temporary interim gap housing. And RS 2022-1699, sponsors Sepulveda, Gamble, Parker, and others, appropriates $7 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from the Fund 30216 to the Metro Homeless Impact Division of Metro Social Services to establish a low-barrier housing collective and to fund competitive grants for support services. Do you have a motion on all four of those together? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? So I will just report that in affordable housing, I'll come to you next, Councilmember Hurt. There was a request a motion to defer these until the first meeting in October so that we could get additional details and flesh out the plans further. So Councilmember Hurt, do you have additional questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to get any clarification about the private developers. Is there going to be a cap on how much money that they can be loaned and how many projects? You know, I understand that that some of the developers may be local nonprofits, but I'm more concerned about the private developers. Do you know?
Is there someone who wants to answer that? And also, I will say we have agreed to send, so if you'll also send that question to Danielle Gooden, who is going to collect questions, and on the SharePoint, that answer will also be published for everyone's benefit.
I saw the analysis, which I thought was very, very helpful. A lot of questions that I had, it basically did answer them, so that was great.
Thank you for that. Okay, MDHA, Mr. Alexander, if you'll answer that question, then also we'll refer that as well in writing.
Good deal. Yes, there will be a cap on the maximum amount per unit subsidy for each developer.
So there will be a cap for each developer.
There will be a cap.
What would that cap be?
It will be closely aligned with our home limits, and we'll cap it based upon the maximum unit subsidy for our home program.
Will that be in the
Right.
Will that be in the resolution, or do we need to add an amendment to make sure that it's documented as such?
It's actually in the it's in the overview, but we can include it as an attachment in the resolution if need be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you can submit that in writing, we'll have that, and then we'll also prepare an amendment to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Any other questions on either of these four? So we have a motion before us to defer until the first meeting in October. Any discussion? All those in favor of a deferral until the first meeting in October, say aye. Any opposed? All right, we recommend deferral and re-referral to this committee. October 4, and re-refer. 11 in favor, any not voting? Okay, 11 in favor, none against, none, 0 not voting. That brings us to skipping over consent agenda items. RS 2022-1714, sponsors Allen, Evans, Welsh, and Suara, approves Amendment 1 to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Human Services to the Metro Board of Health to conduct immunization record audits for child care centers, drop-in centers, and group child care homes to ensure the safety and well-being of children and families in Tennessee. Do I have a motion?
You actually took that on.
I took that on consent.
Yes.
Okay.
Read it.
I read it? Oh, okay. I did have a question, if I could ask that, or if we've already voted on it. I'll ask it on the floor. All right, apparently we've already voted on it as part of the consent agenda. I will ask my question to the Health Department. And my question was, will that pay for immunizations? Can you address that, Mr. Sharp? Will this money, in addition to conducting audits, will it also pay for immunizations if they're needed? No, it's only for... You'll come to the mic, thank you, since I'm asking my question.
Madam Chairman, the state law requires that children in daycare be vaccinated, so we audit the books to make sure the kids are. If they are not, we don't kick them out. We get them an appointment to come into the department.
Come to the department and they can get them there. Okay, thank you for that. All right, we've already voted on that one, so thank you for answering my question on that one. Moving on to RS 2022-1724. Sponsors Young, Allen, Syracuse, and Stiles, adopts the Nashville Department of Transportation Multimodal Infrastructure's Vision Zero Action Plan and Vision Zero 5-year implementation plan, and pledging to support Metro government's efforts to achieve zero traffic deaths and serious injuries on Nashville's roadway. And I do have a letter from the sponsor to approve. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded, and I do see Director Alarcon here, so if you want to say great things about this, I think we should celebrate it, so you've got the mic.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I really do want to say thank you to the Mayor's office as well as to this council for supporting Vision Zero. We're super excited about really integrating this into every practice that we do when it comes to transportation and really getting to zero casualties and deaths that occur on our roadways. So again, thank y'all very much. I truly appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to the final resolution for tomorrow evening. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the administration? I will just ask one. I just had one person say we need to do this super fast. What do we have sort of a trajectory of we hope by?
So it is to 2050, but we are looking to move it along a lot quicker. Not only is it the Vision Zero plan, action plan that's before council tomorrow as a resolution, but also a 5-year implementation plan. So we are being very aggressive in our implementation plan that will actually look at ways to have the reduction and make those improvements on our streets so that we can see the rates of deaths and casualties that occur drop pretty dramatically. So we're going to come out of the chute very hard and quick.
Awesome. I'm glad to get that on public record. Any other questions about Vision Zero? 1724, I did skip 1721. We're going back to that one in just a second. So we are voting on RS 2022-1724, adopting our Vision Zero implementation plan. If there are no other questions, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any not voting? We recommend approval, 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. I apologize, I skipped RS 2022-1721, which sponsors O'Connell, Allen, and Bradford, approves an in-kind grant from the Metro Development and Housing Agency to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to provide procurement and construction management services for Kelsey Gardner Senior Park. I do have a letter from the sponsor to withdraw this, I think for further funding discussions, and it will come back to us at a later date. So that will be withdrawn. We don't need to vote on that. Correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, backing up to RS 2022-1712 and 1713. Councilmember Hurt needs to abstain from those, so those are approved, 10 in favor, 0 against, and 1 not voting. Councilmember Hurt abstains from 1712 and 1713. Okay, now we are back on track. Next is RS 2022-1725, sponsors Allen and Young. This approves an agreement between the United States Department of the Army and Metro Government for Phase 7 of the Flood Preparedness Study in Davidson County, Tennessee. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Is there anyone from Water Services that can just tell us a little bit about this? Mr. Snyder, thank you. You're recognized.
Jim Snyder, Metro Water. Yes, this is an agreement between the Corps of Engineers and Metro. We've been working on this project and developing it over the last 10 years. As you all know, we have a flood warning system that comes out of it. The Corps provides modeling, but it also solidifies our relationship with the National Weather Service, USGS. And so this is a $1 million initiative over a 2-year period, and the Corps is paying for half of it, and our part is the other half.
Thank you. And the fact that there are 7 phases just seem noteworthy to me. Are there specific things that don't happen until phase 7, or is it a continuation of things that just take time to do?
Well, 2 things are going on. Obviously, as technology improves, we're improving that, but also we're capturing some of the smaller watersheds as we go along. So some of those that we haven't gotten to this point, some little tributaries, we're picking those up as well. And also, periodically, through the planning department, we will improve our LIDAR, our topography study, and that gets incorporated as well. So a little more detail there. Quality and quantity, both.
Gotcha. And do we know this is a 10-phase project, or we just add phases as there's new information we can add?
Well, once again, this is a 2-year initiative, and so as our county develops, that might drive whether we need to add additional phases or not.
Okay. Other questions? Yep, thank you. Thank you very much for explaining that. We ready to vote? All those in favor? Any opposed? We recommend approval. 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Next is BL 2022-1344. This is sponsors Hollerman's Title V of the Metro Code to establish a development impact fee. I have a letter from the sponsor to withdraw, so that one is withdrawn. Next is BL 2022-1379, sponsors Swope, Hurt, Hall, and others. Swope, Hurt, Hall, any of the others here? This amends Title II of the Metro Code to create the Nashville Entertainment Industry Board. Syracuse. Councilmember Syracuse. Are you a sponsor on this one? I lose track. Okay. It just says others at some point, so I don't have all the names.
I'm Councilmember Others. Thank you.
Councilmember Other, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. We are going to defer this until probably the first meeting in September.
Okay.
As in working with the mayor's office and putting together the meeting that's coming up on the 30th. So thank you.
And we appreciate that. Any discussion on a deferral until, that's a 1-meeting deferral. First meeting in September. Thank you for that. Okay, it's been moved and seconded for 1-meeting deferral. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? We recommend a deferral. 10 in favor, 0 against. Anyone not voting? 0 not voting. Great. Next is BL 2022-1380. Sponsor Stiles and Swarum in Section 2.178010 of the Metro Code to add property to the South Nashville Central Business Improvement District for Metro Nashville and Davidson County. I have a letter from the council to approve. Do I have a motion? All right, any discussion? Let's just add some parcels to it. Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any not voting? We recommend approval. 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Next is BL 2022-1381, sponsors Parker, Allen, Van Reese, and others, amends Chapter 5.04 of the Metro Code requiring payments in lieu of taxes made by the Convention Center Authority be dedicated for affordable housing initiatives. This was deferred in affordable housing, so it's deferred by rule something or other, or?
Take action or no action.
Okay, we can take action or no action, or we can discuss it. Any questions or comments, Councilmember Sledge?
I was just going to try to make the same motion we did in affordable housing, which I think was deferred 2 meetings. Is that right?
I believe that's right.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Yes, okay, so there's a motion to defer 2 meetings for the purpose of listing the types of other things beyond the Barnes Fund that might be acceptable. So that was the discussion in affordable housing. So we have a motion for a 2-meeting deferral. Councilmember Mendez.
2 things. First, on procedure, because it was a 2-meeting deferral, I don't think it's automatically deferred. I think that's, if it's a 1-meeting deferral, it gets automatically deferred. Okay. So I do think it's important that we take some position. And then the other thing I wanted to add is I know Councilmember Sledge wants to see the itemization of what other uses it might be. I'm probably a no on this in the long run for the same reason that I've been a no about every other pre-dedication of property taxes into the future. This really is nothing more than feel good. It's not quote unquote dedicated. It can be undone in any budget ordinance going forward. And this is about politics, not procedure, to do something like this, in my opinion. And so it's, to me, it's more than just about, I agree it should be listed out if it's going to go other places, or the current intention is to have it go other places. But there's another component out there that was discussed also.
Thank you. Other comments? I will say, I do say it, it gives the council more power to know that we're going to start with 15 million and we can decide to take it away, but it's there as a starting point, which seems like an improvement over what we have now, which is just the income from the short-term rental taxes.
Right, but again, I use the example of during the last council term, there was massive press releases and big to-dos about fixing Metro's broken comp system for employees and a 3-year pay plan. And in that year, there were a bunch of high fives and excitement, and like literally no language in the next year's budget, just wasn't there. And this is no more dedicated or an intention than the 3-year pay plan was. Like, snap of our fingers, it's not there. It is nothing more than a statement of the current 39 members about what they'd like to see in the future, but it doesn't commit anybody to anything, in my view.
Duly noted. Other comments? All right, we have a motion for a 2-meeting deferral. All those in favor? Any opposed? Let's see, I think we've lost Councilmember Pulley, so 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Next is BL 2022-1382, sponsor Syracuse, amends Metro Code regarding the abatement of property taxes for certain improvements or restorations made to historic properties as authorized under the provisions of the Tennessee Code annotated Section 675218. Do we have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. I believe we have an amendment from Councilmember Syracuse.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move the amendment with a brief explanation.
Yes, explain away.
Thank you. So as we know, we passed this program already, but we did so with a very conservative cap, not knowing who would apply and then what those numbers would be. We put a total of a $10 million cap on that, which reflected roughly $130,000 of future abated revenues. That's not a lot, $130,000. This amendment to the bill here does 2 things. it looks at the applicants that we've received and tries to be laser focused on this program about where the immediate needs are. So in the first section, specific to Second Avenue, we have the opportunity to support the restoration of Second Avenue as it was. And because of this program, property owners on Second Avenue are able to spend the extra dollars on the materials of the quality to return the character to what it was. The second piece to this amendment here is creating what I believe will lead to best practices as we begin to put policy around programs such as this. And so this, similar to the bill that you passed that has a report due, I believe, on November 30th, this mirrors that, if you will, so that we can have oversight over the program to see how it's going and to make proper fiduciary decisions from there. So that's what the amendment is, and I move approval.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Any opposed? We recommend the amendment. 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Next, Councilmember Syracuse on the bill as amended.
I would move approval with brief explanation.
Have a second?
Thank you. Sure. So in order to tailor the program to the applicants that we've received, that, again, we kept it as conservative as possible, but understanding that this is our once-in-a-chance lifetime opportunity to save some of these properties that do not have historic overlays on them, such as the arcade. So what we wanted to do, to be as conservative as possible, but also ensure that this program captures the greatest efficacy that it could, was to have 2 caps, one for Second Avenue restoration and the other for general use, I guess you could say. So the cap for Second Avenue would be $40 million. That's value. That's not taxes abated. That's total value. So you take that $130,000 and you multiply that by the 4, then you get your potential abatement. We did a very deep dive into this to see what the greatest potential abatement would be if this program are completely maxed out. We do have that analysis, and especially as a member of this committee, that is something that was important for me to do. So I appreciate the folks in finance and council staff and in historic for working together to be able to put that together. So we have 40 million as the cap for Second Avenue, and I believe it was 20 million for general use, which is the arcade, which does not have a historic overlay on it. And the Geddes Fire Hall is another. So these are properties, once in a chance, lifetime opportunity to be able to save them. So we wanted to make sure that we had tailored the program that makes sure that we can save these properties. Thank you.
Thank you. And there's a process for the Historic Commission to weigh in on who's eligible and who's not, correct?
Yes, this does not change what we initially passed by creating the program and those guidelines that were set, authorized by state law. So this doesn't change any of that. This just tailors the program to make sure that we capture the opportunity of saving these properties.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Councilmember Mendez.
One process question, and then just a substantive comment. On process for Director Darby, to make sure it's not on consent tomorrow, do I have to vote no, or can I just abstain and have it come off of consent?
You can abstain.
All right. So I'll end up.
And I've been told it has an amendment, so it can't be on consent anyway. So.
Oh, all right, super. So I'll abstain for the reasons that I've yammered on about before, and can't support it. I just make the observation that this isn't the only way to help the properties. We could appropriate money and do it out of the general fund in real time rather than pre-committing property taxes into the future. It would be more straightforward and transparent to the public if we did it that way. I understand why a lot of folks consider it more palatable to just do it in terms of free future property tax revenue, and other people can worry about it. So I know I'm just repeating myself, and I'll abstain on this. Thanks.
Thank you. And I will will respond to, I think, your very valid observation that Metro needs to develop a policy on this, and I do have legislation coming forward that will put together a study and formulating committee to begin to work on that type of policy so that we can say we've made a decision and here's our cap and these are the things that we prioritize to do that on. So I hope that will help you.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll yammer more. Like this council, like last council, the biggest thing we had was coming to grips with the fact that there just wasn't revenue to do anything, and we were robbing Peter to pay Paul and selling off assets, all the things that sort of drove the results of the last couple of years, the last term. This term, having gotten the property tax rate from completely horribly way far away from sufficient, we got it to minimally sufficient, and then the administration, with the support of this council, is absolutely exploding the number, the percent, many multiples, the millions of dollars of future property tax revenue that's pre-spoken for. And that will be one of the legacies of this council term, is moving, like the property tax number would have gone from abysmal to minimally sufficient. And then we will have promptly absolutely exploded the amount of property tax revenue. There will be the people sitting in these chairs 6 years from now, we're scratching their heads, looking at revenue, saying the numbers don't add up. And it's like, oh yeah, back in 2021, 22, 23, they made commitments for some, $80, $90 million worth of property taxes, and that's where it's at, guys. That's, that's the dots that need to be connected. That will be one of the legacies of this council. This particular item, as Councilman Syracuse has mentioned, and I appreciate his dedication to keeping it modest, is the very smallest, very smallest of the items, and I do appreciate that. On the principle that I keep going on about, I'm going to abstain, where in other ones I vote no. So thank you.
Other comments? All right. And I will also add to this that our finance director is also working on the 4-year look-ahead projection. Is it fair for me to label it that way, that as part of her financial policy cleanup, there will be better information, we hope, down the line. I'm not promising anything. I'll let you. I don't want to commit you to anything you're not comfortable with, but you and I have talked a lot about the value of being able to look.
I might go more than 4 years.
Okay, go for it.
I would say a forecast of not less than 4 years. I think to really do something meaningful kind of has to be a longer projection than that. So
great. I appreciate you working on that. I think that will be important information for us to be better stewards of our future money when we have a good forecast for that. So thank you for working on that. Okay, other comments down the policy hole. So we are voting on RS 2022-1382 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say no. We recommend approval. 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. I'm sorry, 7 in favor, that's correct. 0 against, 1 not voting. Duly noted. Thank you for that correction. Any other comments, questions? All right, that is our next last item. Next is RS 2022-1386, sponsors Suara Welsh and Stiles. Approves a contract between the Mayor's Office and the United Way of Middle Tennessee to provide financial counseling and other financial education activities to low-income residents in accordance with the Financial Empowerment Center program model. I have a letter from the sponsor to approve. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right, we recommend approval. 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. We are adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.